I got removed from my parents' house by social services last week because my mom is going through some issues at the moment and is too depressed to leave her bed. I was first placed in a group home for foster children, though I don't think I'm a foster child because my mom is still caring for me. She is just going through something at the moment. I personally think I would have been fine staying at home because I'm very mature for my age, everyone tells me. But my grandpa reported my mom to social services, which is why I got removed. After being at the group home for a few days, my uncle finally got permission to take me in for a while until my mom is better. I don't know my uncle that well, he's my dad's brother, and since my dad died I haven't really had much contact with his side of the family. My uncle lives with his two sons who are 11, Oliver, and 9, Jamie. I've had to start sharing a room with Oliver, and Jamie shares with my uncle since there are only 2 bedrooms in the house. I hate this because at my proper house I have my own room and I just don't understand why I can't stay there. I've had to be removed from school because my uncle lives so far away and they're not able to get a place for me until September, which means I'm just sat at home doing nothing all the time. I just hate it here. When we're home, Oliver never wears clothes, sometimes Jamie too, but he usually wears underwear. But the second that Oliver gets home from school he just strips completely. It makes me feel so uncomfortable and weird because why does he feel he can expose me to that? I don't like seeing it and it's just weird. I mentioned this to my uncle and he basically told me to deal with it, and that this was Oliver's house first. I told him that I think it's weird and it makes me feel uncomfortable. He doesn't understand how much of a change this has been, for me. I don't even want to be here, and it's so weird that Oliver just won't wear underwear at least. It's not like it's a big deal. I don't want to see him undressed all the time. Especially when I invited my friend Max over, Max felt so uncomfortable that he left early when he was meant to stay for the entire day. I'm not allowed to go over to his house, which just makes it worse because now it's ruining my friendships. How old are you? Reach out to your social worker and explain that everyone in the new house walks around naked and you don't feel comfortable there. They will most likely try to find some other accommodation. It will not be a quick fix though. Oop, I'm almost 15, you will not be allowed to live alone. But they may be able to move you to another home. Keep pushing for it. If the social worker will not help, escalate it. State that you feel you are being sexually harassed by your cousins and uncle by being forced to see them naked. You can go so far as to say your uncle supports it. It may get messy and your family will blame you. Don't let them make you feel bad for this. You did nothing wrong and are having a bad situation forced on you because of mistakes others made. None of this is your fault. You will survive this, and you can potentially have a better life if you are able to separate yourself from them. I am so sorry you are going through this. It sounds really hard. Is there a social worker monitoring your foster placement? I'm wondering if there is any adult other than your uncle you could speak with about this. Oop, I don't really have anyone else. I have my grandpa, but he's not responding to me. Update 1. My uncle and I spoke about my cousins, and my uncle for once I think was really nice and reasonable. He apologized to me, said he was stressed with work and all the change and he shouldn't have taken it out on me. He said he shouldn't have said it was Oliver's house first because now it's all our house. He said he's going to speak to my cousins that they need to wear underwear around the house or a dressing gown. I told him I really was feeling lonely and depressed and that I wanted to get back into school. So we went back to my social worker and told them I really wanted to be put back in school and I'm feeling really depressed just sitting around the house. They managed to find me a place at a local school, which I started last Monday. Things have gotten better, but over the last few days I've been trying to organize a meetup with my mom, but she isn't answering my texts/calls and I'm getting a little worried about her. Last year I found her overdosed and had to call the ambulance, and I'm really worried she has done something to herself again. I've texted and called my grandpa also, but he's not responding. Does anyone know what I can do? Can I call the police to go and check on her? I'm glad to hear things are a little better. Are you from the UK? If so, call the police on 101 and ask for them to do a welfare check on your mother. Give the details that you are in foster care and that you have caught your mother attempting to commit suicide in the past. They should do a check and update you/your social worker, who will update you. Oop, thank you, I'll do that on the walk home from school today. My lessons start in 10 minutes, so I won't be online again until later today. Talk to your uncle about your worries about your mom. He is your guardian temporarily. You should also have a caseworker assigned to you. I suggest talking to both of them about your worries about your mom. Either one of them can call the police on your behalf regarding a welfare check. Unfortunately, the police don't always take minors seriously in these kinds of situations. Oop, I think someone told me on the last post that my social worker is my caseworker because I think caseworker is just the American term for it, but I'm not sure. I will get back in contact with my social worker today if I can't get the police to do anything. Update 2. My uncle and I had a huge argument and he ended up throwing me out, which I don't know, maybe is a good thing. I didn't really like living with him. Currently I am with a very nice old lady and her other foster child. I finally managed to get in contact with my grandpa and I got an update about my mom. She's in hospital at the moment. She tried to end her own life again. I really feel awful, especially because I wasn't there to protect her. I know everyone here says it isn't my job to protect my mom, but if I were there she wouldn't have done this. I would have been there. I don't know how well she is and they aren't letting me visit. I asked my grandpa about why he took me away and then stopped responding to me and why he started to ignore me. He said he just didn't know what to say and that I was so angry at him. Which I am really angry. But I still wanted to talk to him. I don't really think Reddit is good for my mental health. People were sending me pretty horrible things to my DMs and telling me my mom had killed herself to get away from me. So I might not respond to any more messages and I'm not going to post any more updates. It sounds like the grandfather is trying but Oop is lashing out whenever they talk. I don't know what to say, you are just so angry from the grandpa. The Oop stating they know they are very angry but still want to talk is a tough one. I can see why the grandfather stopped answering calls if every exchange was Oop screaming at him about how he ruined Oop's life. Plus it sounds like the grandpa has his hands full with his mentally ill daughter. I don't see how everyone failed him. The mother was incapable and mentally ill, so Oop was removed. Placed in foster care but a family member took them in quickly. The underwear thing was nuts, but two similar-aged boys sharing a room and a complaint about not wearing clothes, especially if it was very normalized before Oop lived there, may have not made significant to the uncle at the time. He rethought it, apologized, and tried to make changes. Oop never said what led to him leaving uncle's house, but he admits to being very angry. He talks a lot about why he just doesn't understand why he can't go home and it is very possible he engaged in some sabotage of the situation thinking if he got kicked out they would let him go home. Social workers are checking in on him and got him enrolled in school. More than everyone failing him, I think he is a victim of very unfortunate circumstances. Dead dad and mentally/emotionally incompetent mother. Oop, you're just making up random shit about me. I haven't lashed out at anyone. My grandpa hadn't responded to me at all since I was removed and my messages to him consisted of hi hello how's mom? Could I get uncle to drop me off to visit mom? Hi, I didn't lash out at him. I never lash out at anyone. One thing I never do is lash out because that's what dad used to do and I know how it makes everyone else feel. My grandpa didn't respond to me because he assumed I was upset at him, which I was. I never told him. I never lashed out at him or anyone else. Oop never said what led to him leaving uncle's house, but he admits to being very angry. Again, you're just making things up in your head to blame me, insinuating that it's my fault I was kicked out because I was angry. Saying I sabotaged it? I have never sabotaged anything. Nothing that has happened to me has been my fault, nothing. I do everything I can to make the people around me happy, everything. All the time. And I get nothing back. And yes, I asked my uncle's family to wear some underwear around the house. Jesus, is that so much to ask? No one puts me first, no one. The only person who even cares about me is my mom and she's going to fucking kill herself and I can't even fucking do anything to help her. Don't call her mentally incompetent. This is why I said I wouldn't look at the comments. People I don't even know are blaming me for things that didn't even happen. You're literally making things up in your mind to justify blaming me. I don't understand why people do this to me all the time. Good God, honey, even if you had lashes out you have so much reason to not be okay right now and the people sending you messages and being shitty to you are the ones who are mentally and morally incompetent. You are under too much stress for a person so young. I hope the people you are staying with now are nice and you can lean on them some. I'm on the wrong side of the ocean but I'm still a mom and I would message with you if you need to talk. I hope the hospital helps your mom get better so you can be back with her at home soon. Take care and don't listen to the assholes. Oop, thank you. I knew I shouldn't have read the comments yet I still did and it just made me more upset. I'm glad there are kind people out there like you and like my new foster carer. Who BTW is really kind and nice to me and is really trying to get me to see my mom. I've only been with her for a little while but I feel like someone is finally taking my side and understanding how I feel. I'm embarrassed to say but I cried so much yesterday and she was there just helping me and that's something I've never had before. I've never had someone make me hot chocolate and let me pick a film and we just sat and watched it. Update 3. Some people were again mean and negative about me in the comments, like people just assuming I was violent and lashed out at my family. I don't do that, just setting the record straight. I never did that, not one. I think I was disrespectful to one commenter I replied to. They were assuming things about me and I was angry and disrespectful to them in my reply. I won't tag them in case they don't appreciate it. But I want to apologize to them, I'm sorry. I want to spread positivity and happiness, not negatively. I also took the advice of someone in the comments to turn off my DMs because that's where the really nasty or perverted people were messaging me. I am currently living with Jay, the old lady foster carer I told you all about. She is very nice. She's made me feel really welcome in her home and she's been fighting for me to be able to see my mom in person. I feel like I finally have someone fighting in my corner. For the first time in a long time I feel really positive and happy. She even drove 30 minutes to pick up my friend from my old school so he could visit. I felt really guilty but she acted like it was no big deal at all. I really hope things continue how they are and that my mom gets better soon and I can see her. Also I feel guilty being a burden on Jay so much. I tried to clean the house for her when she was sleeping but she came down and sent me to bed. She won't let me do chores for her, which is making me feel so guilty and my grandpa would always say I would get lazy if I didn't do chores but Jay isn't letting me. I feel so guilty because I feel really happy here. Like more happy than I've ever felt. But I don't understand why and I feel guilty because I shouldn't be feeling happy while my mom is in hospital. But I do feel happy and then I think of her and grandpa and just feel bad and guilty. I feel like I treat Reddit as my therapist which probably isn't the best thing to do, but I usually feel better after I've written a post here. I'm going to go to bed because it's 11 p.m. here. Now on to second story. Uncovered my ex siphoning our daughter's savings to fund hotel stays with a coworker. Now she wants me to co-sign her lease. I was in a decade-long relationship with my partner who ran off. We have a child together who is in first grade. Recently, I discovered she was siphoning from our daughter's money I would put away every month, school fees and savings, as well as using her salary to fund expensive hotel/guest house stays with one of her employees under the guise of work. I called her out on this as soon as I'd found out, and her new guy's reaction was to send people to my house. She gave him the address, I would later find out, to clean up everybody living in it, for lack of better terms. I wouldn't include this if not a necessary part of the story. Please forgive if it treads any lines with the sub-rules. Her reaction to that? I antagonized him by confronting her, so no foul in her book. I am blowing it out of proportion despite multiple voice notes and text messages. I kicked her out of the house due to obvious danger in this, and her new guy cannot help her with a place to stay. Without giving too much away, she earns less than half of what I do and he earns a quarter of what she does. She's currently couch surfing around her friends/relatives' places while he allegedly lives with his mother in a studio apartment. Recently, she's contacted me to ask me to co-sign on a lease with her as she doesn't have any other options, and while I want to help her because I care about her, I also feel she has made her own bed and should lay in it alone, or with that guy. The consequence of all this up and down is that legally, he's not allowed anywhere near our daughter anymore, so the two of them moving in together would likely mean she cannot see our daughter anywhere that isn't neutral ground because I don't want her at my place. She knows this, and this is partially why she asked for my help, as if the other guy signs with her, he will want to move in with her. Should I feel bad and help her out? Should I tell her this is her doing and leave her to her own devices? Terribly conflicted. What do I do, guys? Update 1. My now ex has voluntarily checked into a shelter/home for women whose lives have come off the rails tonight, and after speaking with them, they've assured me that she is indeed there tonight and that they test for drugs as part of the admission process and as part of the ongoing board/lodging requirements. It warms my heart so much that she understands that she needs help. This covers the roof over her head temporarily and makes sure she is on the straight and narrow for the next little while. I think it may be too late to salvage our relationship and trust, but I wish her the best in recovery. Lastly, someone here has reached out to me who knows me in real life, as this story is a big deal in my local community. They've pointed out that the AP/junkie/whatever is indeed among the comments here, and I hope he too is learning from the responses of others about being a decent human being. Update 2. Judge insists that there is not enough in the dozen voice notes, 4 call recordings and 7 pages of pretty explicit text threats to deliver a verdict in absentia and set another date for April so he can be allowed to tell his side of the story. For those of you who have asked about calling the cops/going the legal route, this is why I have zero faith in my local justice system. Personal note, to you, homewrecker, I know you are here reading this and posting snide comments. My ex, your new puppet, has told me as much, and looking at them, it's obvious to me. You were a big man when you made direct, repeated threats of what you want to do to a little girl, which I won't go into the content of here, but we both know you meant more than the cleanup act you promised. If you are not man enough to sort this out as men supposedly do, at least have the cojones to explain yourself to myself in the court. Hell, tell everyone here and see what these folks make of it for some free peer review opportunities before we see the judge. Update 3. AP no-showed once again on the court date, and they furnished me with a cop-out order. Basically, if he approaches me, turns up at my house etc., I can have him arrested. No actual punishment handed out. A month ago, ex convinced a friend, this will be important later, to co-sign a lease with her a few miles away from my residence. She and the AP moved in tog. Ether, 2 weeks ago, newish stuff. AP was thrown out and nearly arrested after lashing out at her violently, believing me to be trying to woo her back via text. AP has told a mutual friend between us that I was texting his new GF/my ex all manner of flirty and provocative things. I knew nothing about this. A week ago, present day, I find out that she had my name saved as a smokescreen on her phone. The friend she co-signed with was the person she was really exchanging inappropriate texts with. When AP looked through her phone and found my name sending nudes etc. in her messages, he flipped out and confronted me over the phone. Thank the Lord for WhatsApp screen share. I quickly showed him that I had nothing to do with any of that. The friend she co-signed with proposed marriage. She accepted, which she insists is we just met each other at the right time, which she wants me to believe was a week after breaking up with AP. Unfortunately for her, it is not difficult nor illegal for me to find out who is on whatever property's paperwork. I suppose in essence, she was seeing someone behind my back for at least 2 years and used this other junkie as something to get caught out on deliberately while waiting for myself and that junkie AP to potentially seriously maim, or worse, each other while she eloped into the sunset with this other bloke and our daughter. I don't know what to make of any of this. I thought I was recovering really well until I got wind of this, and now the levels of deceit are hurting me something awful. All the nights of eating canned beans and bread, sometimes not eating at all, so our daughter could eat decently every night when we supposedly didn't have money. Ex was never hungry, which I found out was because she was eating full meals at swanky restaurants before coming home from late shifts. All of it was because she was spending money in our joint account on 2 different dudes. I don't know, guys, I might be back with another update, I might not, but thank you all for your advice, criticism and opinions. Edit, I've left out some context on the money trouble. X had signed our daughter up for some of the best extramural activities, with my blessing, with some of the most reputable places in the country, karate, ballet etc., which is expensive. She paid none of those bills barring the initial month's payments, from joint account using my money. She didn't contribute a total of 10% to the fund, and drew cash which she said was to pay those. The owners of those schools are now after me for the money which is in the dozens of thousands. I have instigated legal action, but until that happens, I am on the hook for the entire balance. Hope this explains it. Edit 2. More context around some of the DM comments about but she's right, it was your choice to do all that for her. I don't have any family in a 20-hour drive radius anymore. Her family disowned her and threw her out years ago to start with. We had some real hard times not long after our daughter was born because of an economic crunch in my country with no rising wages to combat that. I know it was my choice to help build the two of us up, but when I didn't have gas/train/bus money, I was walking to and from work to feed someone who stayed home and looked after our baby, something I still see as a fair half of the bargain. That said, 13 miles there, 13 miles back in rain, snow, sun, whatever, no matter how sick I got, 7 days a week because I needed the extra shifts. I didn't eat well for those horrible 7 months, times were that bad. I never did it to say but I did this for you, it was always we earned this for ourselves. For her to do this to me/our kid at this point, knowing what hell I'd put myself through to get us here, getting her the cushy job she has today, it grates me. Sorry for the rant, but FFS. That it was your choice too, and she uses these words too, argument tells me how dead in the water we might be as a global society. Upta, Tay 4. My apologies that this is a lot less exciting than the previous parts, but I've seen enough questions in DM to make me post this. X and I are on speaking terms when it pertains to our little one. While it has not been much, she has contributed somewhat to tuition/school costs over the last 2 months. For reference, the current split on the essential costs is approximately 85% from me and the remaining 15% from her. She and original AP co-signed on a lease about 10 minutes drive from my house, and just about a month later, they broke up. She was almost immediately engaged to someone else. He seems nice, to be fair, and the original AP was out of the picture. These people all work for the same company and it seems she's the manager. I know this for a fact with original AP, not certain whether the new guy reports to her as well. I'm tired, guys. Working my day job, 50 to 60 hours a week, and doing a whole lot of side jobs to make ends plus full-time parenting, while she's living her life on the other side. Admittedly struggling, but a lot less stress than I have. We're getting back on our feet slowly but surely, but this is soul-crushing to say the least. I've basically lost all the money I'd earned in the past 16 years through all of this, and her constant response is, but it was your choice to support me when we were still together. I've found someone else, so that's nice. We were an item from 2010 to 2014 and we're just in 2 very different phases of life at the time. Now we're back together and she's been wonderful, helping support where she can mentally, emotionally and even financially on occasion. Of course, I pay that back as soon as I can each month, and she doesn't want to hear no when I ask her not to pay certain things or go above and beyond for myself and my child in making our lives easier, even though she has her own kids. She's literally been paying off some of the bills behind my back, and it's so sweet it scares me because I don't know affection like this. Is it PTSD I'm going through? The ex does not want my new person meeting our kid but wants her new fiancé to be involved. What do I do with this? I suppose what I really want advice on is, while I am infinitely grateful for her as a person, keeping my mind straight and her assistance with everything else, she says it's just money and that she doesn't care about it. She just wants me back at my best to focus on us, but I feel somewhat uncomfortable with it as I don't like feeling as though I owe someone. How do I lay down some boundaries with my new person doing such wonderful things for me? Would this spoil things between us?